Today, guys, we're going to go through 6 major hurdles to bringing police to justice. All across America, these protests, riots, everything, whatever you want to call them, some are, some aren't, all of that is because police do not get brought to justice. And even though these police officers, these 4 police officers, are all fired, only one of them is even going to be brought up on charges, and he might not even get convicted. And we're going to go through 6 hurdles to bringing police to justice. So the first hurdles actually already come into play in the George Floyd case. Derek Chauvin had been brought up on multiple charges, as had one of the other officers in the case, and Amy Klobuchar, the prosecutor at the time, actually let them off the hook, didn't prosecute. So that first hurdle is that the prosecutors tend to be on the side of the police. They're colleagues. They work together to bring criminals or alleged criminals to justice. That's their job, so they work together. They're colleagues. So there's a conflict of interest there. That's number 1. Now, number 2 is the judges are often on their side. So even if the prosecutor does bring it to trial, the judge that actually oversees it, they're colleagues as well. They work together to convict people. They all work as part of the justice system. So the police officers often have to give their testimony. They work hand in hand in all their cases throughout the day. So this is another major hurdle. So the third hurdle is one of actually the most important hurdles. It's the fact that there are actually laws designed specifically to protect police officers. In fact, they've recently come out with new laws that say the police officers don't have to know the law. And if they break a law but they didn't know it, then they kind of just get to, say, oh, well, I didn't know. And that's actually pretty ridiculous because people like you and me, regular citizens, we don't get that benefit of the doubt. Not knowing the law for a citizen like you or I is not an excuse to not follow it. But for police officers who are actually supposed to know the law, if they don't follow it, these new laws that have come out recently all protect them. It's just another in the line of laws that protect police officers. The idea behind this, and I don't agree with this at all, but I want to tell you the reasoning behind this. The reasoning behind this, they say that police officers are always in so many gray areas, so if every time they got caught up in something like this, there was a chance they got, in trouble or convicted, that they would all just be in jail at some point because they're always working in that gray area. That ends up being a really big problem because then officers just end up being above the law and written into the law saying that officers are above the law, and that is wrong, and that's part of the problem. That's the third hurdle. The fourth hurdle is the police unions. The police unions are specifically designed to get police officers out of these kinds of messes. They do something wrong, they rough somebody up, they get in trouble for something. These police unions are specifically designed to help these officers navigate all the murky waters of the legal system and defend them at every turn. So, unlike you or me, they actually have a whole system designed to help them, whereas the justice system for us, when we go in there, it's all designed, the police officers, the prosecutor, the judge, they're all kind of looking at this saying, how can I get the evidence to convict this person? And we have politicians making mandatory minimums so that there's no leniency, there's no room for that. So on one side, we have a system designed to protect police, and on the other side, we have a system designed to prosecute people. And we have these for-profit prisons, of course, that just perpetuate the problem, but that's a whole nother issue in itself. Now, the fifth major hurdle is the fact that even if an officer is convicted, they lose their job, they get brought up on charges, maybe they get some probation, but then they can just move to a new area and work there. Now, some states like New York, I'm told, have laws that prohibit them from going to another precinct, but that's not the case in all states and all cities. And that's a major problem, because if an officer is violent in one area, what's to stop them from being violent in another area? It makes no sense for them to lose their job in one precinct and then just pick up where they left off somewhere else. And the sixth major hurdle is the fact that the evidence is actually controlled by the police. Some of the recent shootings that have happened at some of these protests actually happened with the body cams of the officers turned off. So the officers have control over the evidence collecting. They have control over whether their body cams are on or not. They're the ones who write up the reports, the records of what actually happened. And that's what gets entered into court. Generally, people like you and me don't write down and record everything that happens, although you should. You should document everything that happens anytime when you're dealing with the police, and that way you'd actually have that as a record if it ever goes to court or goes to trial. So there's a lot of major issues here, and we have to tackle each and every one of those problems. We have to have a system that's designed to bring police to justice just as much as citizens who break the law. So there's a few different things we need to do. First of all, we need an outside organization specifically for investigating and prosecuting police officers. We have to have it separate because even internal investigations or investigations that are coming from outside, they all know each other and they have a camaraderie. We need an outside institution for that. Secondly, we need to have police not be so in contact with people all the time. For-profit policing, where they have to go and collect fees and they have quotas of how many traffic tickets they need to make, they shouldn't be coming in contact with people so frequently. We need to lower the amount that police officers come into contact with regular citizens. We also need to put an end to warrior training for police officers. This type of warrior training, it gives them this mindset that they're a warrior on a battleground. When you and I walk the streets, we don't look at everybody thinking they're a threat. But the police officers go to specific training, and they call it warrior training, where they're looking at every single person as a potential threat. Most citizens are just going about their day just trying to make ends meet. They're just trying to get home to their families so they can spend some quality time with them, watch a football game, crack open a cold one. That's all people are trying to do. But police officers are walking around with this mentality like it's a battlefield, like everyone is ready to assault them or kill them at any time. That's a problem. And that lack of trust makes people actually want to defend themselves against police. It just escalates tensions over and over. Now there's a million things that we could say. I want to go to one more very important point, and that is decriminalization of drugs. Small offenses like drugs need to not be another point of contact for police to just be in contact with people. This is a bipartisan issue, actually. Conservatives, progressives, Republicans, Democrats, they all agree that drugs should not be criminalized the way that they are now. It increases our prison population, it makes police continually have contact with people, and it's just not necessary. There's no reason for it because it doesn't even help anyway. Just like the prohibition of alcohol actually increased the level of alcohol use and addiction and didn't decrease it, it didn't help at all. So these are just a couple steps that we could take. There are many more. We could go on forever about this. So I'd love to hear in the comments what you think the most important things that we need to do are moving forward. And if you think this information is important, go ahead and share this video with somebody else, and I will see you guys in the next video.